All right, let's get right into it. We're going to break down one of the most important but kind of under the radar global conflicts happening right now, the US China metal war.
But what if the most critical war in the world today isn't one you can see on the news? No soldiers, no tanks? What if it's a battle being fought silently through things like export controls and tariffs, a fight over the very materials that build our modern world?
Well, that's exactly what's happening. Welcome to the new metal war. And this isn't a fight for territory in the old school sense. Nope, this is a battle for the very building blocks of our future.
So, what are we talking about here? The metal war is this huge geopolitical struggle for control over critical minerals and rare earth elements. You know, the stuff that makes your phone work, that powers massive AI data centers, and that guides the most advanced defense systems. It turns out controlling these minerals is the new key to global power. And this conflict, it really signals a massive shift in how the world works. We're moving away from that whole era of open, globalized trade that we got so used to. Today, it is all about securing your own supply chains and controlling the resources that basically run the entire fourth industrial revolution. Which brings us to China's role in all of this. See, for decades, China very quietly built up a near monopoly on processing many of these critical materials. And then, well, it decided to turn that dominance into a weapon.
So, take a look at this timeline. What's really striking is just how fast everything escalated. I mean, it starts out pretty low-key in August 2023 with some simple licensing for gallium and germanium. But then, bam! By late 2024 and into 2025, it's a full-blown export ban on critical materials. And they even tacked on these extraterritorial rules for magnets. This wasn't random, it was a clear strategic squeeze.
And the effect on the global market, it was immediate and it was absolutely seismic. We're talking about a price shock of historic proportions for materials that, for many high-tech applications, are just irreplaceable.
Let's start with gallium. This stuff is absolutely essential for advanced radar and the next generation of 5G and 6G communications. Its price spiked by 365%. That is a huge hit to the entire telecom and defense industry. Then you've got antimony. It's a critical mineral for things like munitions and night vision equipment. Its price shot up over 437%. You can immediately see how this directly impacts a nation's ability to defend itself. But hold on, this next one is the real showstopper. Yttrium. We're talking about a mineral used in super specialized ceramics for things like aircraft engines. Its price surged, get ready for this, 4,400%. I mean, a jump like that kind of volatility can literally grind production lines for our most advanced technologies to a complete halt. So here's the crucial point. This wasn't just about making money. It was about creating what's called a compliance trap. All of a sudden, global companies were forced to prove their supply chains were clean of Chinese influence or they'd risk getting blacklisted. It was honestly a masterclass in weaponizing the global economy. Now, faced with this kind of threat, the United States didn't just sit on its hands. It launched a massive economic counteroffensive, really designed to build a kind of financial fortress and bring these critical supply chains back home.
And the policy shift was dramatic. The U.S. moved from its original rules, called Foreign Entity of Concern, or FEOC, to something way tougher, the Prohibited Foreign Entity, or PFE. And for good reason. Experts have called this new standard FEOC on steroids.
These new PFE rules hit where it really hurts, tax credits. As you can see here, if a clean energy project, an advanced manufacturer, or even a nuclear power plant uses materials that are controlled by a PFE, well, they lose access to billions in U.S. government incentives. It's a really powerful way to force companies to find new suppliers. And it wasn't just about playing defense. The U.S. also got proactive. It launched something called the Secure Minerals Act. This basically sets up the government to be the buyer of last resort for minerals produced at home. This takes a ton of financial risk off the table for new mining and processing projects in the U.S. and with allied countries. So after months of this escalating economic warfare, the pressure just became immense on both sides. In late 2025, the leaders of the U.S. and China met in Busan and managed to hammer out a fragile truce, a temporary pause in the metal war. So what did they agree to? Under this truce, China said, okay, we'll suspend our export bans on these critical minerals for about a year. In return, the U.S. paused some of its enforcement actions, and China got rid of some retaliatory tariffs on U.S. farm goods. It was a classic move to de-escalate and give both sides a little breathing room.
And this is so important, nobody thinks this is a permanent fix. All the underlying laws and restrictions in both countries, they're still on the books. This is just a policy window, really. It's a strategic timeout for both Washington and Beijing to figure out their next move.
And that leads to this really powerful metaphor. That deadline, November 2026, it's not a finish line. It is a sword of Damocles hanging over the entire global economy. Everybody knows this conflict could flare right back up at a moment's notice. So what does this fragile peace actually mean for the rest of us? It means a frantic global race is on, a scramble to build a whole new future, one that isn't dependent on a single country for the world's most vital materials. We're literally seeing a new map of mineral power emerge right before our eyes. The US and its allies are pumping billions of dollars into helping countries like Brazil, Australia, Vietnam, and India develop their own mining and processing. This whole strategy has a name, friendshoring. It's all about building supply chains with partners you can trust.
Because really, the ultimate lesson from this whole metal war is now undeniable, at least for Western nations and their partners. The era of just chasing efficiency no matter the cost is over. The new strategic imperative is rapid, smart decoupling and building secure, resilient supply chains that can't be held hostage.
Which leaves us with the final, multi-trillion-dollar question. This truce is set to expire in November 2026. Right now, everyone is racing against that clock. But what happens the day after? Does the war start right back up, or will the world have built a new, more stable foundation for the future? That is the question hanging over all of us.